Hello and welcome to Eerie Earth. I'm your host Kieran, thank you for joining. In this podcast, I take you on a journey through the paranormal, where we talk about all things creepy, from ghosts, cryptids, and much more. So sit back, relax, and join me as we explore this eerie earth. In this episode, I want to take you to Northumberland and tell you about one of the most infamously haunted castles in the world, where the cries of the dead echo through the winding corridors and the dark recesses of the dungeons where men, women, and children lost their lives. So sit back and let me tell you all about the hauntingly fascinating Chillingham Castle. Set in the heart of the Northumbrian countryside, Chillingham Castle is a foreboding structure that dominates the skyline. With lush green rolling fields surrounding the majestic walls, the stones have seen kings and queens pass through its walls. A dark cloud of death hangs over the castle, created by years of torture and death that cry out from every crack and crevice. Built in the 12th century as a stronghold for Northumbria, it became a fully fortified castle in 1344. However, in 1298, Edward I, King of England, stayed at Chillingham Castle on his way up to Scotland to fight the forces of William Wallace during the Wars of Independence, of which many Scots were held and tortured in the dungeons of the castle. In 1603, when James VI of Scotland was to take the throne of England following the death of Elizabeth I, he made his way to London with his wife, Anne of Denmark. He stayed at Chillingham. In 1617, when the Union of the Crowns was well underway and the country fell into a period of peace, and the need for a military stronghold was unnecessary. During the Second World War, the castle was used as a barracks, during which time a lot of wood panelling had been removed and burnt by the soldiers that were stationed there. Shortly after, the building fell into disrepair. Now, it plays host to many ghost tours and paranormal nights, as well as holiday apartments. But Chillingham has an extensive history, playing host to several dark and creepy ghost stories, and is thought to be one of the most haunted castles in the world. Through the crumbling walls and winding corridors, to grand halls and dark dingy dungeons, tales of spectres, disembodied voices, and shadows on the battlements are told through whispers on the air and passed through by visitors and workers alike. One infamous spirit is the woman in white seen in the inner pantry. One day, as the rain was hammering down on the castle and the dark clouds hung low, visitor numbers were down because of the weather, when a member of staff who was waiting in the pantry for visitors to come in so they could give them a guided tour, experienced something that would send shivers down his spine. As they waited in the room, they heard the footsteps entering. They looked up, expecting to see a group of soggy guests. Instead, saw a woman in a flowing white ethereal gown float into the room. Frozen to the spot, they tried to call out in terror, but their throat closed up. The woman turned to them, begged for some water, before disappearing through the wall. In the chapel area of the castle, two disembodied voices can often be heard deep in conversation, but no words can ever be made out. Just a never-ending conversation with no outcome and no closure, forced to forever be in an endless dance of words for unsuspecting visitors to eavesdrop into. In the Pink Room is a terrifying tale of the Radiant Boy, a young boy cast in a blue haze, who when seen lets out a terrifying, tortured cry before disappearing through the wall. It is believed that his bones were discovered behind the wall during renovations, leading many to believe that he was bricked up behind it. However, there is no evidence to prove this. The most horrifying tale that plagues the castle is that of John Sage, also known as John Dragfoot, or the Butcher of the Scots. John Sage was a cold-blooded and ruthless executioner and torturer who loved nothing more than torturing Scottish men. He tortured over 50 men a week over a period of 3 years, meaning he tortured nearly 1,000 people in the torture chambers of the castle in some of the most horrendous way imaginable. He would use all manners of devices, from the wheel, a device where men's arms and legs were entwined through the spokes of a large carriage wheel before the wheel was being spun, breaking their bones, to the Iron Maiden, essentially a sarcophagus with spikes and nails on the inside, and when someone is placed in, they are impaled by the rusty, blood-covered nails. And his own invention, a barrel with nails on the inside. The victim would be placed inside and rolled from one end of the chamber to the other, and the victim was skinned alive. He would also impale, boil, and starve his victims to death. At the end of the First Wars of Independence, the English wanted to destroy the Scottish prisoners that they had in their care, so in the courtyard a large bonfire was set up, and men, women, and older children were burnt in front of the younger children. After experiencing such horrendous scenes, they were taken inside the castle and hacked up. John Sage hated the Scots and would do whatever he could to make an example out of them, but he was publicly hanged before the public then chopped off his fingers, his toes, nose, lips, and genitals while he was still breathing. The torture chamber and the courtyard are said to be some of the most haunted areas of the castle. With such a bloody history attached to the castle, there is no wonder why around every corner there's a new tale of hauntings and uneasy feelings. If you wanted to visit Chillingham, to see if you could experience any of these horrifying hauntings yourself, you can book onto one of the several ghost tours or book on their paranormal events. They also have holiday apartments that you can rent and spend the night in the world's most haunted castle. I would highly recommend visiting the impressive and sometimes oppressive structure. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eerie Earth. If you would like to support the podcast, you can follow me on Instagram and YouTube at Eerie Earth Official, and follow us on Spotify. And if you enjoyed this episode, then please consider leaving us a 5-star review. This episode was brought to you by Eerie Earth Tours, a 5-star rated ghost tour company based in one of the most haunted cities in the world, Edinburgh. If you would like to book onto a tour with us, then visit our website at eerieearthtours.com or book on Viator or TripAdvisor. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Eerie Earth Tours. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Eerie Earth, and as always, bye-bye for now.